Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today we are here with a discussion. We're going to be talking about the books that I have bought or been given in the last, couple of months. So I would say kind of Q4 2023. I'm just going to kind of title this book haul and then maybe put the time frame in the notes, the description. But I don't really buy that many books. I've gotten a lot recently because I've been given a lot of like gift vouchers and stuff. So I went out and bought them. Most of my books come from the library. So what we're going to do first is start with library books. Now I only have two out of a very, very massive overflowing, falling over pile of books. But I want to talk through both of those first, and then we'll get on to the books that I was bought or gifted or have bought myself. So, starting off, we have The Tyranny of Faith by Richard Swan. I am reading this in January, so this month. I may have I won't have started it by the time you see this video, even though I'm filming the video way in advance of when it's going to go up. So Tyranny of Faith is the sequel to the Justice of Kings, which is the first book in the Empire of the Wolf trilogy. I absolutely loved the Justice of Kings, and it ended up being my number 2 book of the year for 2023, which was a mad surprise, seeing it was actually the last book that I read that was eligible, and it ended up being my number 2 read. And while in many days of the week, if you ask me, I'd probably tell you that it wasn't close between this and Of War and Ruin, between Justice of Kings and Of War of Ruin. I would say that on other days, maybe I'd tell you it was close, because I loved Justice of Kings. I loved the small scale, I loved the characters, I loved the perspective. So I'm genuinely massively excited to read this, and I already have the third book as well, because I was given an ARC copy, an ARC advanced reader copy. ARC copy is one of those things, isn't it? It's like ATM machine. I was given an ARC of Trials of Empire, the third book in the series. So my plan is to read that one not straight away after finishing this. I'll still be reading this in the release month so that I'm reading it with everyone else. But I will be putting up my review as soon as I can. So, next library book. There's not going to be enough room on the floor because I've got more books here. If you look at the thumbnail for this video, right, and I'm carrying so many books that I can barely hold them up, I actually forgot 3 books from that thumbnail that were in another pile that I hadn't seen. Anyway, next, Empire of the Vampire. I am reading this in February. This is by J. Christoph. It is an urban fantasy set in a world, I believe, where like vampires are like in charge and have like ruled the world. I know almost nothing about this one apart from all the hilarious complaints that people will make online. A couple of my friends hated this. A couple of my friends loved this. So it is something I'm looking forward to reading so that I know where I stand. If I love it, I will be reading Empire of the Damned on release. I've applied for an ARC for that one. Don't know if I'll get it. Happy to buy it. I like supporting authors. So, or maybe I'll library it. Anyway, I like supporting authors, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Again, this is a next month book. And one of the reasons that I want to talk about the library books up front was so that you could know the stuff that I'm going to be reading pretty soon. Speaking of things I'm going to be reading pretty soon. So, I am currently reading Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. This is the first book in the Sun Eater. I'm actually a lot further than this now because I've listened to some audiobook. I'm probably about halfway through. So, first book in the Sun Eater series, which, from what I've read so far, feels like if you took kind of Jim Butcher's writing style from the Dresden Files and you put that in the world of Dune with the kind of framing narrative ideas that you get from Kingkiller Chronicle, that's kind of where you get Empire of Silence from, for me so far. I've absolutely loved it. I've devoured half this book in like 2 days. I'm going to be talking with Ross and Laura from Hardy's Books about this one as a full spoiler discussion. There will be a non-spoiler review on the channel, as there will be for all of these books. So, yeah, unless they are an indie author, I hate their book, I will review every book that I read. So, all of these books I'm planning on reading, some in the near future, very, very near future, some in the sometime this year future. Speaking of, the next book we have, Howling Dark. So I bought this from a friend on Andrew Watson's Discord because he noticed that I had said I love the big floppy trade paperbacks, and that's what this is. Unfortunately, I've committed a crime, which is buying 2 different sizes of book in the same series. But we will ignore that because this one is going to stay in the permanent collection, and I believe my tiny paperback of Empire of Silence I'll be gifting to a friend who loves sci-fi books, and I think that he will really enjoy it. So Howling Dark I will be reading next month. Unless Empire of Silence shits the bed, I will be reading Howling Dark next month. Although I believe there's actually I think there's a novella in between. Maybe I'll try and sneak that novella in over a few evenings via audiobook or something. I'm really loving the first book in the Sunny set, and I've not even finished it. But I'm looking forward to reading this one. I know nothing about what happens in this one, and that's how I'm gonna stay until I crack it open. Next up, while we're talking about very, very soon upcoming reading, let's go into books that a book that I was gifted for Christmas, which is World Special Edition. So I don't know whether this is some sort of anniversary edition or anything like that, but it is a book that I have eyed up in bookshops hundreds of times and thought, wow, like that's a really nice cover. It was a lovely, lovely copy to read. The biggish font, the lovely paper stock quality. It does appear to be sewn binding as well, like you can see the stitching on some of the pages. Really, really loved the reading experience of this one. What I'm gonna do though is I am gonna shit on it because the quality of this hardback is quite poor. So if you look here, you can see that I don't know if you can see it well on this. So like if you look at this spine here, I've literally read this book. The only ways I've read this book is like sitting on this sofa with this book laid on a cushion on my lap so that it's, at a good angle and all this sort of jazz. And this book looks like I have read it 10 times. The spine is all creased and cracking and seems to be coming unglued a little bit. I don't know if you can see. You might be able to see there. It seems to almost be coming unglued from the pages in that corner. And like, I've got a lot of really nice hardbacks, and unfortunately this is just not one of them. It's a real shame because it was a gift from my wife, and obviously neither of us knew that it was a poorly put together hardback. This is not one of those books that people are buying to read, is honestly my expectation. I think people are buying this book, they're chucking it on the shelves as something really nice to look at. I think the spine is lovely when it's not been destroyed by actually reading the book. And also, the title has started to rub off, and the front cover has started to rub off a little bit. Like, it's a real shame because it was a gift from my wife. I'm not going to be getting rid of it. Oh yeah, also, the paint, the colour has come off on this part of the spine. It's a massive shame. I loved reading this. My review is on the channel. I said I was going to do a review of this special edition, and I still might do it as a short, although I've probably already talked longer than a YouTube short about this in this video. But real shame. Incredible book that I had a really good time reading. Like, I was expecting it to kind of be a bit of a slog, and it literally never was at any point. So terrible edition, fantastic book. I will still be keeping it, and I think it will look great on the shelves from a distance. While we are here, let's just get this out of the way. Next two paperbacks in the series are book 3 and book 2. So when I loved Either World, and everyone was saying to me, like, book 3, 4, 5, 6 are genuinely incredible, I decided to spend the book voucher I got for Christmas on picking up these two. I have Eye of the World in this edition. So this, I don't know, like, Orbit publishes these in the UK. I don't know what the... I don't know if there's a way to refer to this edition. Probably the, like, years that it came out. But I've always really liked the way this looks, especially if you see people who have the whole collection. The the Wheel of Time symbol goes across all the spines, and all the spines like connect. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can. So all of the spines connect, and you can see the wheel here across the books. So really, really like the way that these look. Unfortunately, both of these are mildly damaged. So the Great Hunt has some damage on this side, and the bottom of the spine of the Dragon Reborn has some mild damage. I didn't notice the Dragon Reborn one when I was leaving the shop, to be honest. But I am buying these books to read. They will, if I love the Wheel of Time, and I'm already enjoying it, if I love it, I kind of have a mild intention to collect this edition of this series and display it on my bookshelves. So I do have bookshelves. They're not behind me like most booktubers. I have most of my books are stored on the floor, but I do have a set of bookshelves which currently hold like favourite books of all time from my youth, and some comic books, and some signed stuff, and some toys and gifts I've been given. So that's kind of why I don't film in front of those, because it's very busy shelves. But if I love Wheel of Time when I finish it, and I will be buying all the books, and I'll be keeping all the books, and if I love it, I'll dedicate a shelf to it, I think. But the other thing I want to say, by the way, and this is a weird one, this copy of The Dragon Reborn is like floppy, like an American trade paperback, but this copy of The Great Hunt is not. It's really stiff. You can't really tell from, like, the cover feels different almost. So this copy of The Great Hunt is not very stiff. However, I'll be reading all of these books. I'm going to be reading Great Hunt in February, Dragon Reborn in March, and as I mentioned in pretty much every Wheel of Time video, you're going to get a solo, non-spoiler review from me for all of these books, and then there will be a full spoiler discussion with myself and Matt from Bask in the Story. And mentioning them again, Ross from Hardy's Books has said that he wants to join our Dragon Reborn if it lines up with his schedule. So that'll be really cool if he does end up joining us. I have been told by the Tutor Ramble review that The Great Hunt is like 3 or 4 times better than Either World. And Either World was a 4-star book that I absolutely loved. So I'm really excited to read more Wheel of Time. And honestly, now I own these, I'm going to be looking at these every time I start a new book. I know I have to wait until February and March, but I will definitely be like eyeing them up. Maybe I'll read a chapter or two. I can't read a chapter or two. So let's go in with... so I've got 2 series here that where I have been given all the entire series. So first off, we have the whole Red Rising series up to Lightbringer. I did just buy Lightbringer on Kindle as well. I was going to talk about Kindle books in this video, but I want it to be under 20 minutes. So unfortunately, I did buy an absolute crap ton of self-pub books in the Wraithmark sale, and I've bought a couple of sci-fi and fantasy books that have gone on 99p sales on Kindle in the last couple of weeks. But mostly with the Wraithmark creative sale, I bought like all of Mother of Learning, I bought Neon Ghosts, I bought all of the Threadlight trilogy. So hopefully I'll read those at some point this year. I would like to. However, let's talk about Red Rising. So you've seen my review for Red Rising now. You know that I really enjoyed Red Rising. It's the first book that I have reread since I've started the channel, and I am not a rereader. Like, I'm not at all. Like, I really don't reread books. I don't rewatch shows or redo. Like, I don't rewatch or re-experience much at all, really. So, for me to reread Red Rising in like 2 days and absolutely love it, I was very surprised. And it went from a 3-star book in 2017 when I initially read it to now being, I would say, a 4-star book. And everyone tells me that Red Rising is the worst book in the series. So I'm super excited about reading the rest of this series. I'm holding them up. I don't really know. I know Golden Sun is the next one. Yeah. I'm thinking maybe I'll read Golden Sun this month, or maybe I'll read it next month. I do want to try and read as much sci-fi as I can throughout the year. So I'd really like to read the whole Red Rising series. And now I own them all. So I physically own the first 5, and I own Lightbringer on Kindle. So now I've got them all, I guess it's time to read them all. And as I said, I've read book 1, Golden Sun coming soon. I would say Q1 this year I'll try and read Golden Sun. However, can't promise anything. Next up, let's talk about another series, and then we've got one final book left after this, which is a self-pub book. So, next I have the Powder Maze Trilogy by Brian McClellan. So, another friend on Discord actually sent me these. He kind of offered them up to the Discord and said, hey, is there anyone who's interested in this series? Just pay me for the postage and I'll send them to you. And he did. He sent them out to me. I have to say, these are some of my favourite covers. Like, genuinely, these are some of my favourite covers that I've seen since the Bloodsworn saga by John Gwynne, which I think kind of has the best covers in the game. But, like, the painterly nature of them, the main character design is really good. And also, let's talk about floppy. So they aren't trade paperback size, but they are floppy. Brandon Sanderson apparently loves this series. I think he was Sanderson's student, so, you know, grain of salt and all that. But I'm genuinely really excited to get to this one. I gave myself a rule this year, which was that I would not start any series until I had... not start any series unless I decided to take a break from Wheel of Time, any fantasy series. But the rule that I gave myself on that, I don't know if I made this clear on the channel, but the rule that I have for that is that I can read trilogies. So that's why I'm reading Empire of the Wolf, that's why I'm reading the Adan trilogy. As long as the fantasy series I'm reading is just a trilogy, or is... I don't mind where they might be like made up of multiple trilogies. So I might start Joe Abercrombie, for example, but only read, 3 books and then take a long break. I don't want to be trying to juggle multiple mega series. So, like, I don't want to be reading, for example, Malazan, Realm of the Elderlings, and Wheel of Time at the same time. I will read some Cosmere this year, which is a mega series, but I'm up to date on that, so it's not like I'm reading multiple books in that series. Anyway, I'd really like to read these. I think that, the covers are amazing. I'm genuinely excited to read these. I've seen a few reviews that make me think that they would be my jam. And just kind of the whole kind of concept and of the world where it's kind of like Napoleonic Wars sort of time. The fantasy story that I am currently kind of planning out and maybe going to write someday is a, like, not modern day fantasy, but like turn of the century, like 1900 sort of technology. So we're looking at like primitive cars and guns and stuff like that. But that's the sort of thing we're seeing here as well. So I should definitely read this for a bit of inspiration maybe in my future writing. But also, it just looks cool. And I'm really excited to have it. I think the books look great on the shelf. So another thing I'm happy to own. We are running up against the time now. Like I said, I wanted it to be under 20 minutes, but it is going to be over. However, I only have one book left to discuss, and that is Return of the Griffin by J.C.M. Byrne. So this is the second book in the Hybrid Helix series. As you guys may know, I read Wistful Ascending in September last year for Self-Pub September. It was one that I added in on a whim when Andrew Watson covered book 4 in this series on his new releases wrap-up. And it sounded so up my street because it's basically a merging of Star Trek Deep Space Nine and Invincible, the superhero show. And I love both of those things. Like, Invincible's probably one of my favourite comics of all time, if not the best of all time. And Deep Space Nine is my favourite Star Trek. It's one of my favourite sci-fi experiences. You might even say Babylon 5 more than Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But I like Deep Space Nine more. Anyway, so I'm genuinely really excited about this one. I'm excited about all of these, honestly. If I wasn't so hype about a book that I couldn't stop myself from spending money on it, they wouldn't be in this book haul. There's a lot of books that I want that I don't buy, but these books that you're seeing here, all of them I really want to read. I don't know when I will get to things like Powder Mage or the future Red Rising books and stuff, but I definitely want to read them, and I'm hoping to read them maybe first half of this year, maybe at least in 2024. I want to give them a shot. So back to this one. I know nothing about the plot of this one because it is a sequel book, and when it comes to sequel books, ideally I just want to stay completely blind to it, honestly. One of my friends reads all of the pre-release chapters for Cosmere books and all the Word of Brandon stuff, which in my opinion, all the Word of Brandon stuff is just spoilers. It's oh, that can't happen because of XYZ. And it's well, I enjoyed reading these books and thinking that anything could happen, you know? I don't want to talk to Brandon about... This is a real weird tangent. We should be wrapping up this video. I would massively recommend Hybrid Helix. I've read one book so far, which was a 4-star, and it was actually, I think it was the only 4-star that made it into my top 10 books of the year. But I really, really loved it. And I said in the top 10 books of the year video, actually, that the thing with Wistful Ascending was that when I read it at the time, it was not one of those books where I was wow, that's the best book I've read in forever. But I kept thinking about it. I think about the characters, think about the world. I think about wanting to see what's going on with a load of the world building stuff that was teased in this book, in the first book. So I'm hoping we get more of that. I've seen one word on the back cover while I've been holding this up that is making me think ooh, maybe there's some interesting past stuff, flashbacks going to happen in this one. So there you have it. So, have you read any of these? There are so many books around me that I'm going to have to move books to stand up. Have you read any of these books? If you have, please drop in the comments and let me know what you thought about them. Please don't spoil any of them, because apart from Red Rising and Eye of the World, I've not read a single page of any of them. If you think I should prioritise any of the books on this list over others, please do drop in the comments and say, this book is amazing, you need to get it on, your March TBR. February's kind of already set, sorry. You've got to get it on your March TBR, Give me your advice, tell me what to prioritise. If you want to see reviews for all of these books, then you should subscribe to my channel, because I review everything that I read. I'm trying to line up now to do spoiler-free reviews and then spoiler-filled discussions of the books after I finish reading them. This might mean that I need to make more videos a week, or it might mean that you guys don't see the reviews for books for 2 or 3 weeks because there'll be a backlog. Although I do film the reviews as close to finishing the book as possible. So keep an eye on the channel, subscribe to the channel. Please do like this video, and when you're going down to get to that comment section, you could always drop a little like and a subscribe as you go down, and tell me what you think I should read. If there's anything that I haven't shown here that you're like, you should read that, this is a flying under the radar, especially independently published sci-fi and fantasy stuff, sci-fi standalones, anything you've got along that in that realm, pop it in the comments. I got some great comments with suggestions on my previous video, so I'd love to get some more. And yeah, guess that's everything. I don't know when this video is going to go out because I'm pre-recording it. And there is actually one more book that hasn't arrived yet, which is The Prophet of Idan, the second Idan book. I bought a copy, the pages fell out, I returned it, and I'm getting another copy sent through, but hasn't arrived. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next video, which is probably tomorrow.